So what's up, everybody? Today I'm going to be going through a top 8 deck analysis from the TKETTST, the largest online UniVersus event that we have had thus far over on my Twitch, twitch.tv/TamCardwell. So if you missed it, you're watching this on YouTube, go out and click the link in the description down below. Give it a follow for whenever I go live. We're going to be doing that significantly more often. And with that said, let's go ahead and just jump into it. So I've got all these deck lists laid out, and I've got this neat little deck organizer that I can kind of sprawl out decks as it is. You can see the main deck here and then the side deck over here, and we're going to be going through all of it for every single person. So yeah, we've got 8 of these, and we're going to start off nice and simple with Barret Bryant's top 8th place Lord Raptor deck. So I'm going to put this guy right here in the middle, do this preview. Yeah, and we'll flip this guy and do this. Red. Okay, so Lord Raptor. Lord Raptor is kind of... Man, what a crazy character Lord Raptor is. So Lord Raptor is a character that kind of plays his own style of UniVersus. He plays exclusively flash attacks, which means characters don't have enhanced steps on these attacks. So my attacks, your attacks, whatever. We just don't have enhances. Not to mention he has got some foundation destruction as well as some speed or damage pump by getting rid of resources in his discard pile, sometimes to an advantage for things such as Leg Shredder, sometimes not, normally with just like foundations. And so looking at his attack lineup, I've organized all of the cards by their card type and then by how many copies are being played inside of the deck. And we're just going to jump around and kind of talk about combos and deck choices and what I see, right? So first and foremost, Hurricane of Death. Hurricane of Death is like the craziest attack inside of Lord Raptor. Yes, it's really expensive as a 6 diff, but it is justified because of the amount of utility and just pure firepower this card has. It's got a 0 mid block. It is a off-zone, very fast base speed attack of 6 low for 6. Gets cheaper if you're half dead. That destroys one of my opponent's committed foundations very similarly to Raptor, and then gets a damage pump. So if you blow something up that's worth at least 2 damage, you can then spend your Raptor response to give it an additional 2 speed, and now this thing's like an 8 low for 8, and it's, a little crazy. The other big thing that I didn't even mention talking about Lord Raptor is he's got such immense defense because all of your flash attacks gain the keyword breaker 2, which means that it's harder for your opponent to keep playing cards. And so we've got, I don't have music on. We're going to do that. Boop. There you go. All right. So it is harder for my opponent to keep playing cards. Up next, the main attack that we have, honestly, probably the best attack in the deck. So if this is pound for pound the strongest attack, the best attack that we have is Leg Shredder. That boy Brook, people should be playing Kill Miss Task out of Death Raptor. He targets removes and it's strong. I completely agree. I think Kill Miss Task is very, very strong, and I believe that we have them in the sideboard of this deck. Because the deck lists, we can look at it. But we'll get there. But yeah, Leg Shredder says that you get to commit a foundation once it's played to then blow something up off of Lord Raptor, as well as you can play it on defense. You can block with it, they commit 1, and then breaker 2. And even more importantly out of that, it is a... after it is removed from the game, so we remove it with Lord Raptor's ability, we get to ready a foundation, which a ton of our cards, if they're committed, we want to re-ready them. The main one being Healed by a Shaman, right? Which says that you can discard your hand and go find yourself a flash attack. So if you have 1 attack and 4 Healed by a Shamans, you actually have 5 attacks in your hand, all for a commit cost. Because we don't need our hand if we're killing them. Our hand's for blocking. We don't need it. The last thing of note about Leg Shredder is when you play this card as Lord Raptor on turn 1, turn 2, very early in the game, is it auto triggers Lord Raptor's ability. So if my opponent has all foundations ready, you just Leg Shredder and then commit one of them. You've now met the condition to blow one of them up. Easy bake stats. Stinging Skull is fantastic. Catching a bunch of these is like a Stinging Skull is Hurricane of Death Jr., right? Hurricane of Death pound for pound is technically better, but Stinging Skull can easily, if you decide to allocate the resource towards it, to be just as strong, if not stronger, than Hurricane of Death. Forces your opponent, if they choose to block, to commit Foundations so that your next attack, flash attack, can destroy one, as well as after your opponent. If after it deals damage, it burns them for additional 2. So it's even better than the +2 damage that you get off of Hurricane of Death or even Lord Raptor. Yeah, this card's very, very strong. Up next, as the last 4 of that we have, is just Spirit Shotgun. This card gets damage off of the number of symbols that are in our card pool, and since our main attack strings all have our face on it, it shares all 3 symbols. So we go Leg Shredder, Shotgun. Our Shotgun is getting an additional 6 off of the Leg Shredders and 1 off of Shotgun itself. So it just essentially doubles its damage. It's a 14 damage move after playing Leg Shredder. And Lord Raptor gets to respond with his plus speed or damage on Shotgun, since it doesn't, that ability doesn't say your flash attack. So it's actually a 9 damage move coming in base. And then lastly, the last flash attack that we're playing is a Zuna drop at a 2 of. When you are at half health, it gets extra damage. It gets even more damage off of Lord Raptor. It gets even more damage off of things inside of our kit. And most importantly, just kind of like Spirit Shotgun, it is a throw, which means even if it is completely blocked, it's still going to deal half damage. My thoughts on this attack lineup is it is very, very simple. But that's kind of Lord Raptor's entire deal, right? He is not trying to pull off any big tricks. He's kind of just doing what he's supposed to do, and he does it exceptionally effectively. This attack lineup is totally fine. The only thing that I can maybe see is, honestly, I think this attack lineup is fine. If you absolutely wanted to, you could take out a Spirit Shotgun for something else. You could do like 3 and 3, just because of how potent drop is. Yeah, Fidu, you could go 3 and 3. Just because of how potent drop is. But I mean, this 2 high block breaker 1, like, it's good. Like this is totally not a crazy line. With that said, moving on to our actions, we've got Triple Tagore Brothers. It's just a hate piece. It negates and destroys something. Fantastic inside of Lord Raptor, who's already destroying things. And so if you could find room for the 4th, maybe even in our sideboard, as we look at that here in a second. Actually, we will just look at the sideboard. We have a 4th one in the sideboard? Nope. Okay. Yeah, we could easily do a 4th one in the sideboard. And then with hitting Foundations and Assets with Tagore Brothers, we're actually hitting characters with Bang. So if my opponent has got this cool offensive ability on their character, we just play Bang and then just say that they don't get to play that cool ability. So I'm stopping Foundations, I am stopping characters, and we'll go ahead and jump to it with Showtime. I am stopping my opponent's attacks as well. So not only do all of these have Breaker, which makes it incredibly hard for my opponent to play Enhances. If they do play an Enhance, I'm going to blow it up. They can't play Enhances on the character because it's sealed, and once per turn, I'm going to negate an Enhance on my opponent's character. This character is all about saying that my opponent just doesn't get to do stuff, which is super fun for control characters. Like, it's very, very cool. On to the assets. We've got 1 Archon and Nirvana. Once again, just saying no to a keyword ability. One of the easiest ways to beat Lord Raptor is to hit him with a big multiple, because of the way that all of his attacks, most of his attacks, looking at your Shotgun, get Breaker on them. Multiple doesn't care about Breaker because the attacks have already been played. You just have to now deal with them all. As well as, if you do decide to multiple something out, those attacks aren't played, and so you don't get to heal by a Shaman to go find your blocks. And so Lord Raptor is incredibly susceptible to the multiple keyword as well as the reversal keyword. Because one of the big things that we want to do fighting against Raptor, which we'll get to, is making sure that we get to play Enhances as much as we can. And Nirvana, you block reversal, and now we've got Enhances on my opponent's turn. If we've had any sort of stun or whatever, we've now just completely hindered Lord Raptor's game. And so Nirvana is a catch-all piece to defend against that. On our Foundations, we're playing Over the Top at a 4 of. This is exclusively just to go and find exclusively just to have big attack turns on the next turn. Because of the rule set of this game, which I guess I didn't talk about in the intro, it was for the TKETTST. Going second, you get to draw an additional 2 cards. And so as a 7/9-hander on turn 1, we want to have these big, huge build turns, which Over the Top lets us do, so that then I can try and drop my entire hand of a bunch of Hurricane of Deaths followed by shotguns, and just try and, you could easily OTK 1 turn kill somebody, if depending on how many Over the Tops you drew on turn 1. Up next, Heal by a Shaman. Heal by Shaman is kind of the most important foundation in the set. If Raptor gets a couple of Heal by Shamans, he'll never not have a potent kill turn, right? And for every time that you have a Heal by a Shaman plus a Leg Shredder, like, it's possible that in one turn you play an attack, and then with 4 Heal by a Shamans, 4 Leg Shredders, you could have 9 attacks in your hand, as long as you could, like, pass them all because of Leg Shredder re-readying stuff. Not to mention, they're all getting crazy stats off of Raptor, and maybe I guess the last attack can't be a Spirit Shotgun, but it could easily be the one that we open with. Yeah, there's just a lot of moving parts with Heal by Shaman to mount your offense. Very, very good. Exactly the opposite, though. We've got Guardian's Final Duty, which is one of the strongest attack washes in the game, right? Discard this attack. It's just enhance remove. Discard this attack from the card pool. Just negate it, abort it. It doesn't exist anymore. But you can only play it if you have more cards removed from the game than your opponent. And Raptor removes 2 cards on every single attack that he plays. So the only way, like, you have to race Lord Raptor to have more removed cards than him with this card existing. It's very, very hard to outrace Lord Raptor. You have to be like Ken. Right? Ken 2 Dot. Ken 2 Dot can race Lord Raptor because he removes 4 on every one of his attacks. And so it's yeah, this card is very, very potent inside of Lord Raptor. I know I said Heal by Shaman. Let me take it back. I know I said Heal by Shaman is very good on offense, but it's also super good on defense because it does have the clause after an attack is played. And so being able to play Heal by Shaman and then go pick up a 0 mid, a 2 high, or a 2 low with Breaker 2 is exceptional. But these are like baby's first Raptor plays that I'm sure you guys all know. Up next in Barret's list, we've got 4 Feels Good to Be Bad. I love this choice. I think this choice is super, super good. A lot of times people play only 3, sometimes only 2 of this card, and I think they're actually messing up. I think this card being able to remove flash attack from -2 speed, playable while committed, is so exceptionally good. As well as you just flip and ready 1 Death Foundation that you want to. And so it just means you have a perfect blocked again. I think this card, in conjunction with this card, means that on defense, you'll never lose your Heal by Shamans. I think this card is exceptionally good. You can just, as long as you have one of these ready, you could just flip this one to ready this one, flip this one, ready this one, flip this one, ready this one. And, like, they just chain off of each other so easy. It's so good. Up next, we've got the Hunt for Spiders and Dragons. It's super simple. There's very little that can interact with Lord Raptor's attacks, right? Because they're all flash, we don't get the enhances. But there are some things that can hose him, specifically at response speed, right? So cards like Telekinetic Mastery that could exist inside of these events could easily stop you, which is why we have Toguro Brothers. But a more proactive game plan would be the Hunt for Spiders and Dragons. It's super simple on my opponent's turn 1. They build out their 3-4 foundations. That feels great. If I'm feeling a little crazy, I could go Hunt for Spiders and Dragon into Leg Shredder. And if I check 2 5s, I have flipped over one of my opponent's key answers. Excuse me. I have committed one of my opponent's key answers, destroyed whatever answer that they don't want to use, and then flip the answer afterwards, right? And so with this 1-2 punch plus Lord Raptor's response, you take out 2 cards on turn 1. It really leaves your opponent demoralized. And even if, fellas, you take and you check the 3 on the Leg Shredder on a 3 on a 4, you just commit Lord Raptor and be fine. I am Hunt for Spidering's the best card on your board, and I'm swinging an attack. It's like this card doesn't count as progressive because I still have Hunt for Spiders to commit if I pseudo bomb a check, right? These 2 cards are so potent that you could even see, honestly, if you were like tap for space, you could possibly play a 4th one if you were feeling it. If you really, really enjoyed being hyper aggressive with this deck, you could easily play a 4th of this card and nobody would bat an eye. The next big card that we have is Friends and Rivals. This card turns every card into Leg Shredder, making Lord Raptor's ability work. All of these attacks, except for Spirit Shotgun, share 2 resource symbols with our character. And so after we play it, we commit it, and then my opponent commits 2 cards. And so all of my cards are Leg Shredder. Imagine Leg Shredder committing 3 cards at flash speed. It's so crazy good. So like you could Leg Shredder, blow up the thing that they don't want, and then Friends and Rivals. After you Friends and Rivals, play your Hurricane of Death, and now you get to blow up an additional thing. It's so good. Or you Friends and Rivals on the Hurricane of Death and blow up 2 things because of how Hurricane works. Yeah, it's just super synergy. Honestly, I think this is the best character to play this card in. Not even Yusuke, not even Dr. Wily. I think this is the best character. Up next, we've got Triple Kirin Soul. This is good block hate. Vicious Madness is run all over the place. The deck that won this event, the Cassandra deck, was playing a ton of really potent throw cards. Vicious Madness, Swallow Your Soul, such and such. And so this card just is good throw hate. That also gives you just -1 speed. I think it's very, very strong. I already talked about Showtime, but we can talk about it in the other way. This is actually like one of the most perfect foundations ever made. Man, sidebar real fast. I love Lord Raptor's kit. I think Lord Raptor is so cool. I know people complain about Lord Raptor all the time that he is too good, but I think it's because he's such a well put together kit, and all of his stuff you want to play. There is 1 copy of every single Lord Raptor card, except for 1 attack, which is a choice to play, right? He's choosing to play Shotgun. He's choosing to play Zuna Drop. But you easily could go and top and win an event with every card from Lord Raptor's kit, which is why people don't like him, right? He's just, I'll use the phrase, he's just born better. They designed a really good kit of a character. So Showtime is canceling my opponent's stuff at the cost of a remove ability, as well as Toguro Brothers being able to cancel stuff, Bang being able to cancel stuff, Nirvana being able to cancel stuff. There's so much cancel happening here. In addition to that, once per turn, your cool flash attack gets a bunch of damage, which would be really rad if we had a flash throw. That would be very, very cool, that we could take and just stack 3 damage on, as well as an additional 2 damage, and 2 damage if we were half dead. If we had that in the set, ooh, man, it would be super, super good. It's a good thing we don't, huh? But seriously, what Showtime does is it actually puts more damage on so that you can then feel good about using Lord Raptor's Remove 2 for speed, right? I see a lot of people taking, when they play Showtime, they just jam more damage on their attack. They're like, yes, +5 damage, that's insane. The smarter, more consistent play in order to pump that damage through is actually to Showtime for your 3 damage and then Lord Raptor to give this thing speed. Giving your Hurricane of Death +2 speed off of Lord Raptor, plus X damage off of its own ability, plus 3 damage off of Showtime is super, super good. Yeah, it's super, super good. Yeah, and Fidu, or you just slam it on and do a Zuna drop, like the little meme I said. Yeah, this card is crazy, crazy good, to the point where if you are ultra greedy, you could get away with 4 Showtime. That's a little more sus than the 4 Hover Spiders Dragons for sure, because of the unique keyword saying you can only have 1 of it on the board at a time. But yeah, this is a very, very good attack, or a very good foundation. Excuse me, good for your attacks. Moving on, Wishing Ward, a little anti-discard hate, which just doesn't exist in standard at the moment, as well as it is disruption for your opponent's momentum. Momentum is a very important resource, specifically with the new holiday card of Stowaway Sleigh Buddy. What is this card called? The Getaway Sleigh Squirrel Tide Bringings. Yeah. Yeah, this card's super, super good at getting rid of that snap momentum that your opponent gets, and they can't use it. Stowaway Sleigh Ride, right? Sleigh Ride, Stowaway, Sleigh Ride, Stowaway. I think that's it. I don't know. We will see it here later in just a bit. It is all over in Tops. But yeah, this card's very, very good at this, as well as it helps you build out these late chains. As a 9-hander going second, you get a handful of over the tops. You get a handful of Wishing Wards. It is possible for you to build 9 cards, which feels super good, specifically if you've got Healed by a Shamans on board and you just pick up your blocks as you go. Up next, we've got Shadow of a Cowboy. This card is very, very strong. Before one of my cards would leave my staging area, do my opponent's effect, destroy this guy instead. Really good with Toguro Brothers wanting to blow up your Heal by Shaman. As I said, this card is kind of people. It is very easy to lean on Heal by a Shaman as a crutch of just how your deck works. It's very simple for you to just accidentally find a kill turn with this card, and one pesky Toguro Brothers kind of hoses Raptor, which is why as soon as this card got printed, people jumped off of the Toguro Brothers train. They just did, because there weren't any great ways to save this card. Well, now with Shadow of a Cowboy, yes, the card still gets negated, but instead of you losing your Heal by Shaman, this card gets destroyed, and then you get to build an additional resource back. So you kind of don't lose anything, you just kind of miss the trigger off of grabbing that card. So if you have one, you then just respawn with the other. Up next, we've got Thrilled to Eat You. Thrilled to Eat You is a different version of Friends and Rivals. So it is this next attack gets +2 speed and then 1 foundation. So it's kind of like the job that this card does is kind of the same thing as Showtime, where it lets you choose where you allocate your stats off of Lord Raptor, right? I'll give +2 speed with Thrilled. I'll give +2 damage with Lord Raptor, or I can double back up on speed, because speed is always better than damage. As well as it commits one of my opponent's resources, like Friends and Rivals, and it's a 1 difficulty, which once again, I've got 9 cards in my hand going second. This is TKETTST. I'm just going to build out as much as I can. I will always constantly destroy 1 foundation, because all of my attacks now have the ability of Leg Shredder. It's very, very strong. Next, speaking of negates, this card is kind of a twofer. Not only does it negate an enhance ability on a card, it also negates an attack, because we can flip and put an attack back to printed speed and then block with our super cool 0 mid block with Breaker 2. Yuck. This card's crazy strong. If you weren't playing 3 Humfer Spiders and Dragons and wanting to snipe specific things, you easily could sideboard another Dark Side of Karma and replace the Hunt, not only for a stellar low block, keep your difficulty curve the same, and be a little more reactive as opposed to proactive. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Up next, we've got Conquest of Terror. Flip -2 speed is fantastic in pretty much any deck that can get its hands on. So any Air Death Void symbol should be playing Conquest of Terror, unless they have some other generic speed hate under the Void symbol. We've got something like Fei, which is technically flip for -3 speed. Not to mention, Conquest also has the bonus effect of, if my opponent is losing, the attack gets an additional -1 speed, because you commit it for -4, so it's -3. Yeah, and reusable, which is very good. And last card, probably my favorite card that Barret decided to play in this, is Match Made in Hell. I think this card is really, really cool with Lord Raptor, right? So Lord Raptor is constantly destroying my opponent's stuff, but it's really kind of stuff that they want to destroy. They're okay getting rid of it. Lord Raptor, about 80% of the time, is going to be destroying face-down foundations, or foundations that don't have really good abilities, versus Lord Raptor. Well, with Match Made in Heaven, enhance opponent's turn, flip, destroy one of my opponent's foundations. I get to pick. I'm going to destroy that thing, and then you get to build a face down, so then I'm just going to destroy it with my Leg Shredder Lord Raptor combo. So this is not actually hurting my opponent too terribly much, as well as Deadlock First Form, commit, destroy one of my opponent's foundations. And so I'm just constantly getting them out. One of the easy ways to play around Lord Raptor, or people think, is that I'm just going to take my hand and I'm going to play defense with all of my attacks. I'm just going to block with every attack that I have, and I'm going to build every foundation that I have. And so as a Lord Raptor player, I need to get them off their foundations, because the more foundations that they have, the more that they can, 1, play attacks to kill my 19 health vitality, and 2, they're allowed to play attacks because the best defensive part of my character is that all of my things get Breaker 2. The more foundations you have, the more foundations you can commit, and then move it. So yeah, all in all, what do I think about Barret's main boarded deck? I think his deck is rad. I love Lord Raptor. I'm so happy that he's seeing so much play inside of Standard. This is a great deck. This is fantastic. An obvious champion deck. We're going to go ahead and we're going to look at his sideboard with 4 Koima's Task. One of the other big rules with this event is the fact that in Top Cuts, you do get to look at your opponent's boards. And with Lord Raptor being able to remove select cards from his discard pile, as soon as you get one Quimmus task in your, or two Quimmus tasks in your discard pile, you remove one of them and keep the other one where it is. And now you can go search your deck as well as disrupt your opponent's deck. So imagine as being able to, like, as a form, play this 3-diff and go find 4 Stinging Skulls out of your deck, or 4 Leg Shredders, or super late in the game, go find 4 Hurricane of Death and just bop, 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 bop. If you can successfully resolve a Quimmus task in Lord Raptor, you're going to win 99% of the time. Why is it in the sideboard? He opted to put these in the sideboard probably because of the 7 cards that aren't foundations and attacks of Tagore Brothers and Bang, which I think are just better mainboarded as opposed to the Quimmus task. Because the other cool ability on Quimmus task is it does cancel an action, which is like a big disruption play. It feels really, really good if my opponent attempts to Tagoro's me, if I know that he has those symbols, to just grab these Quimmus tasks. Excuse me, to grab the Quimmus task and start negating those Tagore Brothers. So it does the same job as a hand trap as Shadow of a Cowboy does. Up next, we've got Flame Aura. I think Flame Aura is exceptionally good and should be at least sideboarded at a 2 of in every single deck possible, especially because in this event and in Standard now, we have 10 cards in our sideboard. You can spare the room for these 2 Flame Auras on these symbols. Honestly, even if you have to off-symbol them, I think this card is so crazy because of how good high attack cards in. Maybe not against this deck specifically, but being able to just auto-block a shotgun for half, like, it might be the thing that saves your life. Because it reduces the speed all the way back down to 0, and then you block on a 1. Neat. This card's absolutely nuts. This card's banana sandwich. Up next, we've got double Demon Realm Awakening sideboard. It's just filling the same role of Kieran Soul, where it's just throw hate, right? It's a beautiful 0 mid block that is throw hate. Fantastic versus Vicious Madness, which is on everybody's watch list, right? Vicious Madness, a 4 mid for 8 that says you can only block with mid. This card covers every base that you could possibly need on it. And then my last card is Dragon's Tongue, another breaker 2 attack. Fantastic, we love those. And it kind of says that if my opponent is getting a little rowdy with their staging area, I did get to reset the game a little bit. We all know that assets are kind of going crazy at the moment, and so Dragon's Tongue is a way to try and mitigate that, as long as they don't have something along the lines of what is the name of that card? Soul Calibur, which we do have counterplay with Tagore Brothers, right? I can drop my Dragon's Tongue, attempt to blow, or if they attempt to seal it with Soul Calibur, you Tagore Brothers it, and then you still blow everything up. As Lord Raptor, I already told you that we have phenomenal early turn 1 plays. So if we reset the game state, Cassandra's not going to be able to recover quite as quickly as we can, especially with us destroying those foundations again. Yeah, so scale 1 to 10 sideboard-wise, I think it's really, really good. I'm not positive that I love triple Flame Aura. We maybe could have played a second Dragon's Tongue, just because of how potent the wall decks are inside of Standard, right? Like, looking at what top 8 was, right? So we've had Lord Raptor. We don't have to care about those. Cassandra is a big wall deck. I love to have huge staging areas. Kuwabara is a big staging area deck. Yoshimitsu's the biggest staging area deck in the format. Spike loves to have a huge staging area, right? Cowboy Andy, he says that you have to rebuild his face up to then go back face down, and then Cutman also likes to have a big staging area, and so he wants abilities in his staging area to try and churn out this big machine. So I think Sans, Soul Calibur, I think Dragon's Tongue might be like pound for pound one of the strongest utility tools to kind of keep the game at a pace that Lord Raptor likes. Yeah, I think this deck's great. I think this deck's absolutely fantastic. I'm not even sure what exact tweaks that I would say to it. I guess the questions that I would have for Barret would be, inside of this event, did you think Over the Top was worth it as opposed to having another ability with card text? Building is cool, but being able to do stuff is cooler. But maybe that's not necessarily the case. How did you feel about Double Thrill to Eat You? Normally when I play this deck, I only play 1. And besides that, yeah, I think it's super good. Yeah. We will do this and then group these bad boys together. All right, let's move on to the next one.